before we get started, I just have to mention, this show reached 1,000 subscribers last week. It's honestly more than I ever expected, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here.
As well as all the people on Twitter who helped spread the word.
And a special thanks has to go to HCC788, without whom I wouldn't have reached this milestone. Well, thanks again everybody, and enjoy the show! Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. Today I want to talk about something that, while it's not the worst small vehicle ever produced by Hasbro, for me it is the most disappointing.
Let me take you back to the past, like almost 6 years ago when I made a short video about G.I.Joe Retaliation. Sadly, that video has been lost, but I still had the raw live-action footage where I said this.
Near the end of the movie, Roadblock does drive one vehicle that I haven't been able to find a toy version of, but I hope they make it. Because we want it, precious! Yes, we want it!
I was talking about this vehicle. It looked freaking awesome and I couldn't wait to get one. I looked online, since the Retaliation toy line wasn't released in Belgium, but couldn't find one, so I assumed they never made a toy.
I was wrong! It wasn't that I couldn't find the thing, it's just that I couldn't recognize the freaking toy! And that's because the finished product looked like this. What the hell is this thing even? Well, I suppose we better start this autopsy.
Meet the Threadripper tank. This vehicle was released in 2012 with sort of some original parts, I guess, depending on how you look at it. Except not really.
Yeah, right from the start, this thing is giving me a headache, because it's complicated. Strap in, I guess.
The gun and missile launcher are from an earlier HISS tank design, while the body is a heavily reworked HISS Scout tank that came out the same year. So normally you wouldn't be able to say which had the original parts, except the HISS Scout came out in Canada in 2011, so it was first. So the Threadripper has no original parts. Except again, it was so heavily reworked with a roll cage and tank treads that it sorta does.
Wow, that was a lot of words about something nobody actually cares about. Yeah, I'm just trying to avoid talking about the actual toy, because... ugh.
Let's start with the colors. Why is it baby blue? I guess they were going for light metal blue and failed completely. The green, brown and black aren't too bad, I suppose, but like a ghost from the 90s, we've got to have neon orange in there too, don't we? With the missile itself. Thankfully, it's removable. As for the design of the toy,
it is flawed. Severely flawed.
To the point where you think Homer Simpson was on the design team for this thing. Homer as a Hasbro designer or as an actual military contractor building this thing, either way works. The mental image, I mean, certainly not the vehicle itself. The biggest problems are with the weapons. They are so close together they interfere with each other's movements, so they only really work if they're pointed in the same direction, which defeats the purpose of having them be able to swivel independently.
Also, they just look wrong, you know?
Due to the tank treads and the roll cage going in an upward angle, it looks like the weapons are pointing at the ground. Now, I thought this was purely a small optical illusion, but no, they really are angled downwards just a little bit, so unless the target is right in front of them, they end up shooting in the ground. And despite what the look of the weapons may have you believe, they don't swivel up. This molding, that makes it look like there are swivel joints there, are in fact solid plastic, so they're stuck in that position.
Outside of the weapons, there's another design flaw on the back of the toy.
It has a footpeg for a figure to stand on, a holdover from the HISS mold no doubt, but the roll cage part covers it so that no figure can actually use it, so it's completely useless.
So now we've looked at the colors and the design, but what about the overall look of the toy?
Simply put, it looks ugly, cheap, and flimsy. And most annoyingly, it barely resembles the vehicle from the movie. Compare this to, say, the Night Raven or truck from the Rise of Cobra movie that did resemble the movie versions, and you wonder how the hell this toy was greenlit. Now, surprisingly, for such a small toy, it did come with a driver.
Though, honestly, I wish they hadn't bothered.
An action figure of Clutch was included. Now, normally, I'd save this for my eventual Clutch review, but really, it deserves mention here. For one thing, it barely resembles Clutch, apart from having a beard. I guess it does look like what a movie version of Clutch could look like, maybe? Though, it still looks less G.I. Joe, and more Montana survivalist Doomsday Planner. For another thing, like other Retaliation vehicle drivers, Hasbro didn't feel that this figure needed all that much articulation. So, unlike most G.I. Joe figures, it lacks joints in the elbows and knees, and only has limited articulation in the thighs to save money. They apparently also saved money in the quality assurance department, since the bloody guy can't even stand up straight. Yeah, try it and he'll keep falling. You have to pose him hunched over to keep him standing.
Hell, this whole ensemble is a monument to Hasbro's penny pinching.
Limited movement on the figure, and the vehicle has most of its parts reused from previous vehicles. Uncle Scrooge would be proud. Back to Clutch, there's one more thing I want to mention. He has a small backpack, one that's molded onto the figure itself, so you can't remove it. And from the Department of Redundancy department, the molded-on backpack has itself a hole to plug another backpack in. Yeah, it looks as stupid as you imagined. And now he's really got that Hunchback of the Notre Dame thing going on.
These toys overall are just really poor.
The only nice thing I can say about them is, well, there's some very nice detailing on the inside of the tracks. But that's about it.
With that, let's briefly look at the character, shall we?
First of all, it's called the Threadripper Tank. Okay, if that thing qualifies as a tank, then I qualify as a world-famous YouTuber. Call me old-fashioned, but a tank should have some sort of armor plating, shouldn't it? And also, not completely expose the driver to enemy fire.
Also, what the hell does Threadripper even mean?
It rips tire threads? Well, the thing itself has no tires to rip, it has tank treads, but ripping them would be a bad thing, no? Does it rip the treads of other tanks, maybe? I mean, that would explain why the weapons point downward, I suppose. But then, wouldn't the thing be called the Tank Thread Ripper? It's just confusing. There isn't anything more to learn from the box, really. And of course, its only other significant appearance in media was in the movie Retaliation.
Where it kicked frickin' ass!
Seriously, I love the scenes with this thing in the movie. And then there's the toy. Why? If you compare them, this doesn't even look like a G.I. Joe toy, but a freaking knockoff. In conclusion, this toy is such a wasted opportunity.
Hasbro, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Well, time seems to have beaten us again, as summer is drawing to a close. So for now, we're done with small vehicles and playsets. September is now upon us, and why not start by giving you, my viewers, what you want? All 1,000+ of you.
The next review will be of a cartoon episode, and it's one that's been requested the most over all these years. And don't bother requesting something now in the comments, as this one is set in stone. Well, I'll see you next time, everybody, and hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing.